Good morning. Welcome to our ATIM Technical Assistance session. We have a couple of check boxes for you to check in with, so please check in by area where you are calling in from so that we can track attendance of our participants. Also, if you have any particular topics that you would like to have discussed today, please check that box below the check-in by area. And if you have any additional ideas on how to recruit individuals that are not already listed in the box, please type your answers in there. Today on the call, we've got Jim Potts from IDES, and we have Mike Baker from DCEO, and we have Ron Payne, and Ron is from IDES as well.
Employee security, yeah.
Yeah, this is Jim. I'm from DCEO.
Oh, sorry, Jim. I apologize. All right, we have a couple of things that we're going to talk about today that are of importance to you for the session. So, Mike, you want to start with the quiz question, the poll question?
Sure.
Right.
Actually, I want to start with a recruitment idea, and then we'll flip to that. I just added it to the list.
Okay.
I tried to. Okay, now it's submitted. One thing to try, because sometimes the wages on these jobs are entry level or kind of low. For people that are dislocated workers, they're not especially attractive. But for people that are young, they might be more palatable to trying that. So I would suggest everybody reach out to older youth providers in your area, people 18 or over that are WIA adult or dislocated worker eligible, and see how that plays out. So we know who all the youth providers are, and you should know all who they are. So check with those folks and say, hey, do you have people that don't have a career path yet that need help finding a job, and this might be something that is worthwhile for them. So could be an untapped resources if you haven't tried that already. Okay, so let's go to our poll question. First of all, can I just drag that over there?
I did.
Okay, great, thank you. So I just want to check in and see if you're using the HWL report.
Did it just go?
What's that?
It just went somewhere.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hang on. Let me grab it.
Okay. So are you guys using the report that Ron sends to WorkNet and then they post to WorkNet? Is that helpful at all?
There we go.
Okay. And then if you want to show the other one now, Dee. Okay, well, we have what I think is an exciting development in that Ron and his staff are going to provide a lot more detailed information to us that should help you zero in on job openings in your region. The information that Ron and his team have provided so far has been kind of an aggregate level, but it gives you, which are the employers that have posted the most job openings online, and which particular occupations are the most popular in postings by your region online. But now we have information, we can provide the information to you that builds that summary report that Ron's created, so you can actually see where, by the employer, where the job is at, the occupation title. So it's much more powerful in allowing you to see what jobs have been posted online and how long they've been out there even. Ron, would you like to add anything before? Well, I'm going to go ahead and flip over to it. I'm going to show you.
And as you're flipping over to it, I would add just a couple of things. Number one, the data that we've been providing thus far is basically it's industry data, okay? An example would be like accountants and auditors or industrial engineers. Something like that would be included on the reports that you've been getting thus far because they're part of the manufacturing industry. What these the Excel spreadsheet that Mike has up here now, this is a little bit different take on it. What we've ran here is just the actual production occupations, which are primarily the ones that we're sort of targeting and providing training for in the ATIM program. So just to let you know that the numbers don't exactly match up. I think, Mike, what did we see as the number on this file? I think there was like 1,900 some job ads on here, and there's like 9,500 manufacturing industry ads. The difference is that these are the production occupations that we're targeting, okay? And that's the file that we'll be sending out, or at least try it out and see what people think about it, okay?
Just a reminder to everybody that's watching, if you need to make the screen bigger, you can touch the 4 arrows to make it full screen, or you can zoom in as well. So when Mike is explaining this, you can do either of those items.
So let me walk you through the spreadsheet. There probably will be some people that eventually see this that have never used the filtering function in Excel, so I want to show you how that works. You go to the Home tab, and you put your cursor in your title row, and come over here to the right side where it says Sort and Filter, and you select Filter. Now, I just deselected it. So this is what your screen would look like when it comes up. Now, for this to work properly, there can be no blank rows or columns in your sheet. Rows is the big one. So as you can see, as we go up and down this, this data is all one big chunk. There are no blank rows. Okay. So you put your cursor in your title row, which is row 3 in the spreadsheet. Come over to this icon in the upper right-hand corner. It says Sort and Filter. And then go down and select Filter. And you'll see drop-down boxes appear in every column. Now what you can do with this is hit the drop-down arrow, and it allows you to sort, search by a filter. But here's the really powerful part. You can pick and choose which things you want to look at. Okay. So for instance, in order to narrow down to your ATIM region, you can select the counties that you would like to look at. So just for ease of use, I'm going to go with Northern State Line because that's a 2-county region. So we'll go with Boone County and down to Winnebago. Okay.
Whoop. There you go.
And you can see on the left-hand side now, all these row numbers turn blue. That tells you that your data that you're looking at is filtered. So you can see it skips now from row 3 to row 19, and then from row 23 to row 1,862. Okay. So there's data that's in there that is now suppressed, and you're only seeing the data that you selected. And if you scroll down to the bottom, we have formulas down here under each column that count the number of instances where a cell above them is not blank. So there are 70 job postings in the Northern State Line region that HWLL found. We also have a calculation here between when the posting was created and when it was last seen or modified. Okay. And we calculate the number of days between that so you can get a feel for how long that posting has been out there. And as you can see, we've calculated the average of all the data above. So the average posting is almost 2 months. Okay. And just let me show you this in case you ever want to do this with anything else. You just use the subtotal function, and this 3 code tells it to count the data above it. So you use subtotal, 3, comma, and then the range that you want to include. And the subtotal command will not count anything that's filtered out. So it only counts the data that you see on the screen. So there are some things that you will have to filter out. There are some occupations that are in production that probably you're not going to want to go for, like laundry attendant, laundry, you know. So you can filter those things out that are not appropriate. Okay, and then now our list goes down to 68. So you can really fold, spindle, mutilate the data here. Say you just want to know, okay, what all communities are at. Okay, well, let's just see, okay, what's going on in Belvedere and Loves Park. And then, it filters out even more.
Mm-hmm.
You can see, what the occupations are, how long they've been out there, where they're at, the SOC codes, the name, and most importantly, the employer. And sometimes the employers will put a contact information on their line, and this will grab it. Sometimes that's blank. And then also if there are any educational requirements for the job that we can tell. So as you can see, if you're in a lot of county area, this will be very powerful. Let's go back to, we want to select all here. Whoop. And let's select all counties. Okay, no, let's deselect. So let's do this for Paula and Connie. So you're going to have Peoria, Tazewell. Oh, I skipped a whole bunch of them, didn't I? McLean. You get the idea here. LaSalle. Any other obvious ones I'm missing here? Probably not a whole lot in May.
Is 14 Rock Island as well?
No, that's 13. And Mason County is not listed here because there's no data for Mason County. Okay.
Correct.
So you're gonna, if you don't see a county, it's just because nothing's there. Okay. And maybe Woodford. No. Okay. I think that's all of them. Okay.
Paula type Knox.
Ah. Okay. Thank you, Paula. So Knox isn't listed.
So there's no jobs in Knox.
Right. At least not on HWL.
All right.
Okay, so as you can see with the counties I've selected, there are 13 occupations HWL found, or job openings that HWL found right now. A couple master's degree jobs, a couple bachelor's degree jobs, but there's some associate and then GED high school. So let's just, okay, for sake of that we are looking entry-level people, we can deselect this and just go, what's a lower level education job? Then you can see, okay, is there anything in here that's applicable? Okay. First line supervisors of productions operation, yeah. Electrical, okay, yeah, so there's something good in here that could be a lead. And, they're in Ottawa and Bloomington, and here's who's doing it. Toys R Us, that might be a bit of a misnomer. That might be like assembling toys, but so that's probably, very low level, but it's what HWL was able to find. Okay. So that's how you make it work.
One other thing too I would add here, Mike, they're under column T where it says URL. If you need more information on any one of these jobs that are on here, you can actually go and there is the link to the actual posting of the job. So you can go in there and get more information than what's even on here, I believe.
Ah, super.
There's also that description column as well.
Yes, and that is actually straight from the job ad itself too.
Yeah. So you can widen this out if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
You keep it small just so you can see the data here. And of course, you can hide columns too if you don't want to see all of these blank contact just hide the column easily enough. Okay. All right. So I'm going to, well, I won't flip back. Any questions on that, Paul or Connie?
You know, one other thing that I would just mention too, in addition to what's already been said about it, just keep in mind, try to get these lists to the frontline workers that are trying to fill these jobs. I mean, we originally thought maybe that the project managers should get this and pass it down, you know, to who they felt needed it. But Mike and I were talking, this needs to go to the frontline people. I mean, if you're having troubles placing somebody, I mean, here's the ads right here, okay? So whoever's, you know, the case workers are the ones that really need to get these lists, okay? And we're going to provide them on a weekly basis. So we'll get the newest ads right as they come out.
Right. So I'm going to flip back to the webinar screen now. Oh, I see we have a bunch more people on now. So does anyone that's joined us since I started sharing my screen have any questions about how that works? I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again. So Ron and Dee, just let me know if anyone has a question.
Okay.
Okay. Well, as Ron said, they're going to prepare this list for us every week, and we'll distribute it out. And
Daryl, this is an HWOL report that is going to be offered by IDES, and Mike had been explaining this. It's a very useful tool to help people find jobs that are posted. And as Ron said, we're going to be sending this out weekly to case managers.
right. So you know, whoever gets it, just make sure your case managers get it also, and we will do an email blast as well. But I just want to make sure that the people on the front line have this data. And as I mentioned when we started this, and some of you may have missed it, if you've never used this filtering function before, it only works if there are no blank rows in your data. So as you can see, we have, you know, almost 2,000, 1,900 rows of data here. It's all together. Because if you have a blank,
there's a word filler in there.
Yeah. If you have a blank row, the sort will stop at the blank row. And
Does that also include the contact information?
No, no. If it's totally blank.
All right.
And then to activate this, if you've never used the filtering function, it's up here in the right-hand corner where it says Sort Filter. So I've taken it off now. You put your cursor in your title row, activate the filter, and you'll see these drop-down boxes appear. And with the drop-down box, you can just go in and select or deselect whatever it is you want to appear. Very simple if you know how to do it. Okay? Okay, well, if there are no more questions on that, Daryl's typing.
All right.
Okay, well, if there are no more questions on that, or if you have a question later, we'll try to get to it in our round-robin session. Okay, Dee, can you highlight the press release now for me, please?
Sure.
Okay, I don't know if this hit everyone's radar or not, but this was released a couple days ago by the governor's office. There's a new law that is now going on the books. It's not effective yet, but basically it says you can't do a background check on somebody until you've already determined, you know, that they are appropriate for the job and you're ready to go through the interview process, etc. Basically, it's to keep you from weeding out people based on a criminal history before even looking at them or giving them the shot at an interview. Now, this does not take effect until January 1 of 2015. And it says that in like the third paragraph. It starts House Bill 5701. At the very end, it gives the effective date. But your case managers need to be aware of this, not only for ATIM, but for WIA in general, because there may be employers that get the word on this that think this is in effect now, or they may have questions about it. So just wanted to call it to your attention that this new law was just signed, and it's something that's going to impact how employers have to operate, and therefore how we have to operate when it goes into effect. So the press release is out there. You can go to it at the governor's website or the state of Illinois website if you want to read more about it. Dee, can we make it as a downloadable document if people want to look at it?
It is right here in the file share pod.
Okay, great. Thank you. So if you want to save it out of the webinar, just download it from here and you'll have it. Okay.
All right.
Then moving on to our final topic about exiting. Will this limit the question on the application? Yeah, it probably will. I mean, I'm just speaking off the cuff here. I mean, obviously, there's going to have to be some thoughtful work about how policy will be impacted and what we can ask for in an application and what we can. But yeah, I definitely see that that's something that will probably have to come off. But again, that will play out. And again, it's not effective until next January. Okay, moving on to our next topic then. I noticed that there were a handful of folks that have exited out of the system, and it said that the reason for their exit was the program had ended. That's an operator error situation. That option is only for people that are in the program when the program funding and the whole program expires. Okay. Right now, we are looking for they entered employment that's training related, entered employment non-training related, or for some reason they disengaged and it was an unsuccessful completion. We are also talking with programmers about adding an option for ATIM only that will allow you to distinguish between unsubsidized temporary employment, such as being on a placement agency payroll, and unsubsidized permanent employment. Because part of our innovation here is working through placement agencies, so we want to create an option to allow you to track that, so we'll actually have some data on that. So going forward, very shortly, there's going to be a new option in IWDS to select a temporary placement as an outcome. And then when the person transitions over to permanent, you could select that as well. So that's something we'll have to talk about, because it occurs to me if they're exited with a temporary placement, that's really not an exit. It's the employment. I'm sorry, I totally misspoke there. Scratch that. What we're doing is we're adding an employment option that says temporary, so they can be placed into a temporary unsubsidized employment, and it will show up so that you can track that, but they won't be exited. Then later on, when they find permanent employment, you can change that to this is permanent unsubsidized employment, and then once you see that they've taken hold with that job, you can then exit them out. So sorry for the confusion there, I misspoke. It's placement into employment that we're adding an option for. So Jim, did that come up with in your conversations today?
I had to leave, Mike, before to come on the webinar before any of that came up.
Okay, all right. So we've already talked with the IWDS staff here about this, and they were going to talk about it in this meeting that Jim left to see what it's going to take to make that an option and then get WorkNet to link to it. So it should be straightforward, but that will be coming soon. So, but the bottom line is for right now, nobody should have exited by reason of end of program. It should be either they entered employment or that they had an unsuccessful completion. And we'll keep everybody posted on when this new option is available. And then if people have entered placement agencies, we can go in and change those records to reflect that. Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? And by the way, this option came out of the conversation we had last week with our regional and state partner call on Friday. So this is our response to that conversation we had about how we can better track that.
All right, and just so that we can keep track a little bit better, please check in the box so that we know who's attending by area.
Okay, we covered quite a bit of data there. Anybody have any questions on what we've gone over or anything else in general that's come up over the last couple of weeks? And I will say, remember, we are doing this on a bi-weekly basis, so go ahead and put on your calendar every other Tuesday at 10 a.m. We're having this webinar for you.
The next one will be August 5th.
And we will send out a note on that as well. Okay. So, okay, last call for any other questions. If you have anything, start typing it or raise your hand.
Mike, this is Jim. I do have the commercial about making sure everybody goes in and checks every day to see if there's new applications. Right now, there's 26 ATIM applications that need to be picked off the Search ATIM customers screen. Some as far back as the 9th of July was submitted, which is well over the 10-day limit. So it's got to be checked every day by people who are serving as ATIM case managers to pick these clients off because they're coming in and we don't want them to sit there.
Jim, by chance, do you have a count by region handy?
IWS is not broken out by the region. It's by OWIA.
Hey, go ahead with that.
Yep. Well, it dates it by when they're coming in. It looks, or by alphabetical, so it's not. I've got OWIA 24. There's 2 for 16, 17, another one for 24, 15, 16. OWIA 4, OWIA 17, OWIA 15, 4, 6, 16, 16, 5, 16, 14, 4, 14, 14, 16, 15, 10, 16, 16, 1. Those are all the OWIAs.
Okay.
So the ranging, some just came in today, so that's understandable, but some as far back as the 9th of July. There's a lot that came in last week. Looks like a lot's dated 16th, 17th, 18th, so came in towards the latter part of last week. But anyone who's serving as an ATIM case manager, that should be checked at least once a day. Myself, I'd probably check it in the morning and then the end of the day. So we could get on these applications that come in.
And I will say, I mean, Jim is checking that here from DCO with all that he has to do, so I know everybody's busy, but if Jim can take the time to check it for the whole state, case managers ought to be able to take a couple minutes and check it for their particular LWIA.
Or 5 seconds. I mean, if they're an IWS, all they got to do is hit search ATIM customers and search, and it brings it up. So it's a real easy tool.
All right. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, Dee is typing. Yes. Go ahead and mention that, Dee.
We really want to try to keep track of the attendees because some of the information that we've been sharing today is ultimately important for you to very easily serve your participants. And those people who are on the webinar are getting to ask the questions that they need to clarify things. So we want to be able to know who's attending these technical assistance webinars, and we need you to check in. So please check in on the poll, and if you have other people who have come and gone, please let them know that it is very important that they attend these technical assistance sessions so that they can find out what's new and interesting and what is being changed.
All right. Thank you, Dee. Well, for those that jumped on today, we very much appreciate it. Hope you found this helpful. If anybody has any questions about it, please feel free to reach out to us afterward, and we will walk you through it. And we will see you all again in 2 weeks. Have a great